Okay.
Put it in your mouth, practically.
Oh, shit.
Well, wait a minute.
As long as he hasn't put it down on that.
I'll leave this here.
But I can do it.
Oh.
Okay. All right. All right. Welcome, everybody. Does it? Yeah. Welcome, everybody. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for coming on this beautiful day. We hope to have a wonderful program that you'll all enjoy. And we want to thank the town officials for the use of the building for our programs and also for our office and museum space. And we also want to specify or mention our corporate members who are, the first one was Cavicchio, and then we had Thai Sales and Wingate of Sudbury, and now we have Comrie Real Estate and the Marlboro Savings. And I encourage all of you to join as members, because that way you can help the society immensely, because you don't have to come every week, but if you're a member, you're helping whether you're here or not. And then on top of that, if you are a member, and even if you weren't, you could come in and help with the accessioning and all sorts of work that's being done up in the office. And now I'll present the program with Lee presenting.
Thank you, Mary. We thought of this program several years ago, and finally we had the gumption to ask and call the Camp Sewataro, and Bill Dowie, this gentleman that will be giving the talk, accepted it almost immediately. He was a little leery, but he did accept this grand occasion to tell the story of a great camp. And it is a beautifully maintained camp. I went there yesterday looking for some artifacts that I'll be talking about in another program, I guess. But it is a beautifully maintained camp, and it is a great story that Bill Dowie is going to tell you.
Good evening, afternoon. Thank you, Lee. Actually, I've enjoyed going back in history a bit myself and collecting photographs and bringing them over here to the Historical Society and having Chuck transform them into slides and putting this whole thing together. My name is Bill Dowie, as Lee said. I'm just introduce myself frequently as the only non-Taylor Taylor. Having married Alba Taylor and become part of the joy and insanity that is Camp Sewataro. Here today are Alba's 3 children, who I'd like to stand up when I introduce them. Christine Taylor, Mark Taylor, Rob Taylor, and Mark's wife, Jan Goddard Taylor. She has trouble standing up. She has a brace on. And her daughter and Mark's daughter, Isabella. And the camp's associate director, Jen Block. Jen was once a camper herself at Sewataro and a counselor later on. I'm sure all of you know that Sewataro is located on a parcel of land called Liberty Ledge in North Sudbury, just off of Haynes Road. The story of Sewataro begins as an immigrant story, just like the founding of our country by the first colonists. It's the story of a young boy from the Abruzzi region of Italy who was born just after the 19th century turned into the 20th century. you have to imagine him as a young boy, since I don't have a young picture. His whole family emigrated to the United States when he was about 8 years old. But because he had chicken pox, he had to stay behind in Italy before joining them in Boston in 1910. Franklin Sewataro was that young boy who would become an enterprising young man without the aid even of a grammar school graduation. A young man who would learn both English and the American way of free enterprise on the streets of East Boston. At first, by selling batteries in Maverick Square. You see right here, Maverick Square, and then here is the Callahan Tunnel, the Sumner tunnels that take you over under the harbor here, into the area, and here's Logan Airport, all this area over here, just to get you situated and located. Before long, he found a building in the same square. First of all, he was selling batteries, and then he found a building in the same square where he could sell radios. So he started Maverick Radio, his own business, which later expanded to sell other appliances and then eventually furniture. Notice the name here, and this is a credit, one of the original credit cards, I guess you could call it, an account with Anna Paolini, who purchased some appliance and was obligated to pay $2 per week for her purchase, which she paid in full in 19 months' time, given a $30 discount. After the Maverick Radio, he started a gas station and then parlayed that into 2 gas stations. And in 1929, like most young businessmen, 28-year-old Franklin was hurt by the financial crash. But he was able to survive financially and even began to prosper again because of the kind of pluck that prompted him to take the large oil company Exxon to court because of their habit of telling him how much he could sell his gasoline for. He was selling it too cheaply, and they wanted him to raise the price of the gasoline. So he and his friend, another Italian, a lawyer who had an office above his store, took Exxon to the Supreme Court and won in a landmark case. With his business doing well, Franklin's impulse, probably spurred by memories of his rural Italy, pointed westward. He was motivated to find unspoiled land to explore according to the script of his dreams. And in 1941, he purchased for $1,000 a large piece of property in Sudbury from descendants of Josiah Haynes, one of the town's original settlers. Notice here you see Haynes Road right along this path is Haynes Road. This aerial photograph obviously is from a much later time. This was taken in the 1960s. And the land, when he bought it, bore little resemblance to the Sewataro that we know today, with its rolling meadows, the fields, the pine grove here. Without even a clearing or an access trail, the area was heavily forested, much like these sections all over here. In fact, when Franklin bought the land, he stood on the street on Haynes Road, and he never did walk the property. The gentleman that sold him the land said, this part up here has got some high ground, and that over there, that has some wet ground, and over here, that's some good gravel. And Franklin said, okay, I'll take it. And he bought it for $1,000. Interestingly enough, around this same time, he had an agreement. He had made a verbal agreement and shook hands with another landowner for an even larger parcel of land that was adjacent to the property here. In fact, it ran all the way to the town line of Maynard. It was about 600 acres, including the old asparagus farm and what is now the was the Bowker property, and he shook hands with the gentleman, and that night, the landowner died of a heart attack. And so there was no deal after that. So the agreed upon sum that they had for the land was $10,000 for about 600 acres, I don't know, give or take something. It was about quite a bit larger than the other piece. Nevertheless, Franklin was happy with what he did have. And he set about realizing the dream that he envisioned for the land. First, a dirt road was cut. And that now is our road that comes in for camp right along this path here. Haynes Road is now running parallel along this side right behind us in this picture. And he began the long and arduous process of clearing the land for the meadows and lawns that comprise the center of the grounds today. I better get some water. I'm starting to lose my voice here. It was a project that would take him 15 years to complete with the help of only one other man. I'm not sure that this is the man, but this is... I thought it was a convenient way of illustrating it, though. Who is that?
John Petrosak from Maynard.
John Petrosak from Maynard, Rob tells me. The name Liberty Ledge was appropriate for the property included the second highest elevation in Sudbury, Flagpole Hill, used as a signal point by the colonists during the Revolutionary War. Rock ledge protruded from the ground, as you can see here and all over, giving the land a characteristic motif. If Franklin wasn't on the backhoe, he was probably on a horse, shown here riding with Leo Oops. Did I go by? Yeah. Shown here riding with Leo Spotswood. Oh, really? Wonderful. Where? Oh, there's Joan. Yeah.
And the horse Poco.
And the horse who? Poco. The next stage of development was the first house that was built on the property, owing its rustic charm to the necessity of the time. There was no ready supply of lumber, so they used the white pine cleared in the clearing process to actually build the house. Franklin enlisted the help of his mostly Italian friends from Winthrop, Revere, and East Boston in the building process, and they and the family used the place as a weekend and vacation retreat from the city, having picnics, playing bocce, and enjoying the fruits of a rural vegetable garden, which you can see here in the foreground, and in a different angle in the background, the corn that's growing behind them, the ever-present backhoe. And then we see, oops, went too fast there, the men putting together a makeshift outdoor fireplace for maybe a clam bake. While Franklin was happy working and enjoying his Sudbury land, the rest of the family had reservations about its remoteness and its rusticness. Here are Franklin's wife, Ida, in the background, and her three children, Gloria, Paula, and Alba, in front of their house at Winthrop. Part of the reservations, Alba had told me that she at first hated going to Sudbury because it was too far from the Winthrop beach. that she and her sisters loved. And there was little to do there except attend adult socials. Gradually, these socials became more elaborate as the years rolled by and the girls grew older. This is one of them. That's Ida, secretary there at the head of the table. And here's the elaborate spread that she was wont to prepare. And two daughters, that's Paula in the foreground and Alba there just behind her. They look not that interested in the food as the gentlemen here who are at the table.
About what year would this have been?
This would have been, let's see, they were teenagers in this picture. So that would have been, let's say, about, I want to say 1940. No, it had to be later than that. 48-ish? Yeah. I think, yeah, 48 probably. During the 1950s, the water projects were started. The first of 3 artesian wells were drilled, assuring a constant, safe water supply. And next began the dredging work, and after 9 months, there slowly emerged what we now call the swim pond, fed by the same underground stream that is its source today. Notice the diving board here set in concrete, but in order to support it, there are 2 barrels right there. And that's the tip of that rock that was in the previous picture, which is now no longer in our swim pond. It's since been removed. By then, all 3 of the daughters were married, Gloria and Alba in a double wedding in 1949. This is Gloria here on the left with her husband Joe Walsh, and Alba with her first husband Bob Taylor, July 7th, 1949. Shortly thereafter, they began their own family, and they moved into the original house of that was the vacation house on the property. In fact, Franklin would build a house for each one of the sisters as well as for himself and his wife there at Sudbury. So everybody moved out to Sudbury at this time in the 1950s. In 1950, and this is the 3 children from Alba and Bob. That's Christine, front row, Mark, and Rob, who are all here today. In 1955, Franklin purchased about 59 acres of land adjacent to the property from Ralph Gilman, a neighbor. And in 1956, he acquiesced to the town of Sudbury's request to build a school in the neighborhood and sold that part of the land, or part of what he had bought from Gilman, to the town of Sudbury. In 1960, a year before John F. Kennedy took office as president, and 2 years before John Glenn became the first American to orbit the Earth from space, Camp Sewataro opened for its first season, 1960. We're going to pause here for a video, which is some early footage from that first year with about 25 campers, almost half of whom were the children of the 3 sisters. Am I doing the right thing, Chuck?
I think I got to cue it back to the starting point again. Take us up, excuse me.
This was taken with an old Bell and Howell. It's probably Gloria who was holding the camera. And here we have the kids getting ready to go in the water and swimming. I think they're going to be doing a little relay race with the T-shirts, putting a T-shirt on and swimming across and then back. We're more careful today. Who's that, Rob?
Erica Walsh.
Erica in her penguin suit. Going around the pond. She's going to go to the diving board. In full costume. And this seems to be a dress-up day in which everybody wore costumes, campers and counselors alike. Pledge of Allegiance. We still do the Pledge of Allegiance to this very day, every morning. All the kids standing around. More costumes, just like our star-studded star searches we continue to do on our special Friday afternoon activities. I think that must be Jane. And this is Tarzan. That's Carla Walsh. The last shots of these few swimming remaining ones. Now we have a blowing of the ping pong ball, swimming with, doing the dog paddle and moving the ping pong balls ahead of you. We still do that too. We don't let kids push counselors in anymore, though. And then the bus leaving, the Maynard Bus Company. Joe Mancini's bus leaving camp in the afternoon. The early years. So that first season that camp opened, it was directed by the three Secretary sisters, Gloria Walsh, Alba Taylor, and Paula Romano, and aided by the continual maintenance and development of the land by their father, Franklin Secretary, who is in his characteristic work clothes right here, and in his more casual lounge clothes here. The name Sewataro is an even blend of the first two letters of the last names of all of the family in order of seniority. We have S-E for Secretary, W-A for Walsh, T-A for Taylor, and R-O for Romano. That first year, Sewataro had 25 campers, about 3 counselors, and 10 of the children were of the 3 sisters. In subsequent years, Gloria and Paula moved away from Sudbury. They both live in Florida today. And Alba took over the operation of the camp. That's Gloria there, and 3 of her children, and Alba's 3 children as well in front of the house. Alba took over the direction of the camp with the help of her father, who didn't retire until he was 80 years of age. With the business intuition and commitment to hard work that she inherited from her father, Alba nurtured and grew the fledgling camp, creating a summer haven for children. No matter what time of day or night, she would answer the telephone in her friendly, personable way. Without question, it was her vision that infused Sewataro from the beginning, a vision of children exploring nature. This is the kids hunting frogs here. These are early shots of camp, not from the very beginning, but I would say from the 1970s and perhaps early 80s. Some of these shots here. Playing sports and games, making friends and performing in front of the camp, enjoying challenges. By the way, this was shot a long time ago, before all of the challenge courses became really popular. You can see the counselor here looking carefully over and making sure the camper is safe. All of this, her vision was to do in a safe, protected environment. Children, parents, and counselors grew to love Alba because she cared about them, exhibiting unfailing kindness and, when appropriate, tough love. As soon as her 3 children, Christine, Mark, and Rob, graduated from being campers to counselors, Alba had them working. Mark assuming the mantle of care for the physical plant that his grandfather relinquished, Christine directing the waterfront and gradually assuming a greater administrative role, Rob sharing his immense knowledge and contagious enthusiasm for nature with kids. This is not yet a camper. That's Rob's son Cameron when he was a baby. Albie used to describe their 3 roles thusly. Chris keeps things organized, Rob makes things fun, and Mark makes things happen. Each subsequent year since the beginning has seen the continual development of the grounds. This aerial photograph is from 1988. A 3-acre second pond was constructed right here. This is the swimming pond right there. And that's the road in from Haynes Road. Haynes is right along here, Route 117 over here. The Haynes School right there. The Gilman House right here. A 3-acre second pond was constructed where fishing and boating occurred today. The central field was cleared for sports and a tent area. I want you to note this counselor because you're going to see him later on in a slide. In addition, there's been the transforming construction of new facilities, an arts and crafts building, a meeting hall, basketball courts, archery ranges, tennis courts, 4 swimming pools, a concrete lining for the swimming pond. This is all goes 3/4 of the way around the pond. The apron does, and then this area over here is a sandy beach. Fields for soccer and lacrosse, new bathrooms, the longhouse where the whole camp is able to be fitted in for events, a climbing tower, and a Project Adventure low ropes challenge course. These girls are supposed to go along the wires as the wires widen and stay balanced by helping out one another as they go through. And you see Pete, our low ropes challenge director here, keeping an eye on them. Speaking of challenges, neither the physical nor the business aspects of camp just happened. Hard work, vision, and determination were the necessary ingredients. As with most successful ventures, much of the labor was behind the scenes, late-night adjustments to a spider web of a master schedule. This is just the Monday schedule right here. You see all of the tribes along here and their activities by period up along here. Early morning sweepings of silt from the pond, a draining pond. This is only done once a year. Long afternoons of constructing, painting, and repairing, twilight watering of sun-parched grass, and all-day responsiveness to parents' inquiries into the thousands of details that build and establish a tradition. Throughout it all, we've been blessed with a long list of fabulous counselors and supervisors, some of whom are here today, many of whom returned year after year, and some met their lifelong friends and spouses at camp. You'll remember Stuart Hoover from the earlier picture of that counselor looking over the tent area. The groom in the background here is Morgan Malloy and his wife Judith Mira, and their best man Dennis Murphy. All of these met at camp and have stayed to be friends ever since. In fact, I have a note that was written just last year I'd like to read from Morgan's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Malloy. They said in the note, "What a remarkable legacy Alba and her family have given to campers and counselors alike for memorable and enriching Sewataro summers. Our son Morgan began his years at Sewataro as a young camper, later as waterfront director. He met his two best buddies, Dennis and Stuart, there as well, and the love of his life, his darling wife Judy. A number of our grandkids are now Sewataro campers. They all consider the Taylor family dear friends. Alba, a frequent and graceful presence, knew what was needed to keep Sewataro tops in the camping field. Alba and family, kudos for a job well done. Thank you for enriching our son's life." Two of our most impactful counselors over the years were Rogue, here, formerly Raja Alatalo, his name now officially Rogue, and John Fitzsimmons. Rogue brought to us the green gizmo, along with his ability to entertain the entire camp with his magic or sleight of hand and chicaneries. John still sings at our overdays today and has been a part of the camp tradition ever since he was a counselor here. By the way, when Alba hired both of them, they did not perform very well in the interview. If it hadn't been for her intuition, there's no way they would have worked at Sewataro, because like when John was asked why he wanted to be at camp, he said something like, well, my sister said I had to come because she's going to be here. Not exactly a ringing endorsement, but Alba saw through that and saw what was needed and the potential that each one of them had. Here's a picture of our staff from the year 1970, in which one sees a former director, Dick Mullins, right here, and the longtime camp nurse, Kay Horgan, over here. By the way, 1970 was the first year I was associated with Camp Sewataro. I'm back here in the picture, and right there. And I was a tennis and riflery instructor for that year. You can get an idea of Sewataro's growth, perhaps, by seeing our staff some 50 years later. The staff grew from 45 to 140. By the way, that counselor in the back row here with sunglasses and hat is the same fishing counselor that we had 45 years before and is still our fishing counselor today, Dan the Fisherman Nicholson. The heart of the camp's reputation has been its desire to have campers have fun and an enriching summer in a safe environment. This is monitored by careful attention to detail, and we are proud when parents remark appreciatively that we run a tight ship, for we believe that structure is a great enabler of freedom. But our structure is animated above all by a desire to make campers happy. Most of all, though, because Sewataro is a family operation, personal attentiveness to individual needs keeps this structure from becoming too rigid. I was giving a ride here to an exhausted camper in our golf cart. In 1994, the family lost Franklin Sewataro at the age of 93, and his ashes were spread at Liberty Ledge. His stone marker is engraved with the words, "At rest on the land he loved, and in our hearts forever." Then Alba's health, which had been compromised since her youth by autoimmune disease, took a turn for the worse in the year 2000, hospitalizing her for nearly a year and resulting in her being largely confined to bed and wheelchair. Years of steroids to control the disease led to spinal collapse and contributed to her changed appearance. The weight of the camp's leadership then shifted in the year 2000 to Chris, Mark, and Rob, as you see them pictured here on the golf cart with Alba, who still got around sometimes, especially at the end of camp. When the campers were leaving, she would always want to go out and say goodbye to them, tell them how she hoped they had a good time and that they would be back the following year. A year later, the weight so shifted to them. Oh, and at that time, I'm in that picture too. At that time, I retired from my full-time teaching position, and I became a full-time caregiver from that period on for the next 9 years, 10 years. Alba turned 80 years of age on October the 6th, 2009, the occasion of a gala celebration of her life. You see her here with her oxygen, which she had 24/7 at that time. Her longtime childhood friend and our camp doctor for many years, Dr. Seymour Damari, pictured with her, Rob, of course, her son, and our grandson Cameron in this picture. Ever gracious in sickness, even on oxygen, she was, in my eyes, always the Alba I fell in love with many years before. Alba was the camp's guiding light and driving force, and there will never be an adequate replacement for her. But initially Christine, here, and more recently Mark, down here, have taken on the role of leadership. Rob here commutes from his home in Vermont during the winter on an as-needed basis. Today is such a day. And spends the entire summer at camp directing our nature initiatives and continues to make everything fun. Mark's wife, Jan, here, and Rob's wife, Deb, have assumed leadership roles in the camp. Cameron, Rob and Deb's son, will be an apprentice counselor this coming summer, and their second son, Graham, will be part of our new CIT program. Mark and Jan's daughter, Isabella, will be in the Yakima tribe this next summer at camp. So, Sewataro is, and Sewataro remains, a family-run day camp. All of us are committed to carrying on Alba's vision into the future, including our year-round directors, Associate Director Jen Block, who's here tonight, and Emmy Watson, our Assistant Director. They are busy right now enrolling campers for the 2012 season, our 52nd year of operation. In our tradition of constant improvement, this coming summer we'll see the addition of a new project adventure, high ropes course. This is the floating lily pads. Then we have the vertical, the vine traverse, multi-vine traverse, I think it's called, and the vertical playpen. We're also going to add a zip line this coming summer, if we can figure out where to put it, right, Mark? Additionally, we will inaugurate a new counselor in training program, allowing our oldest campers to mature into the roles of responsibility as they continue to enjoy a program of play and adventure. Improvement is always our concern. Of equal concern is the upkeep and preservation of all that has come to stand for Sewataro and the over 50 years of work that has gone into it. Alba is both our model and our mantra. When we are faced with a difficult decision, we inevitably ask, what would Alba do? If we're able to get that answer right, then we're usually on the right track. She continues, therefore, to work her magic for Sewataro. So the land has been transformed, a tradition of camp service has been established. This is a map of the camp in our entranceway here in the ponds. Tennis courts now up here. Various facilities all around. This is an aerial view from just 2 years ago. And you can see the camp clearly outlined now. This would be Haynes Road along here. This is the entrance road into the camp this way. The original house is there. The 2 ponds, swimming, and the second pond for boating and fishing, and all of the fields and tennis courts and other buildings around. You can see we're delineated here by Julian's Way up to here and Greystone around there. This is the camp property. Our job now is to continue and preserve, but because what does not go forward eventually retreats, our job is also to rejuvenate and create. This is one of our overdays here, and parents come with their children here, the tribes, and we have some singing, entertainment, a campfire. This is John Fitzsimmons from an earlier picture, and wouldn't you believe, Rogue was visiting from Wisconsin, where he lives now, and stopped in and helped us with the entertainment that night. Here's Rob working in the background on the equipment. So our job is still to continue to create. By the way, when the boys get to the top here, they ring the bell when they finish, or the girls. We have dedicated ourselves to the pursuit of excellence, and that dedication has produced great rewards. The lives of thousands of children will continue to be enriched through the unique blend of spirit, learning, activities, sportsmanship, friendships, and family involvement that Sewataro represents. Thank you. Turn that on. We're going to have a question period, and right?
Yes, and this is, as you probably know, is being recorded. It is shown on the local TV through Sudbury TV. And if you have a question, please raise your hand. Jane.
Do you still sing green alligators and long-necked geese, humpback camels and chimpanzees at the overdays? That's great. That goes
Absolutely.
back a lot of
If
years.
my voice was better,
I
I'd
think
try
we
and
should
sing
have
it.
a round of that, don't you?
Jan,
I wanted to just
Isabella.
say something. My daughter went to Sewataro the summers of 89, 90, 91, and 92. And in May of 92, my husband got laid off. So I called the camp to say she won't be coming this summer. And Alba said, send her anyway. So I've always felt a great bit of gratitude to Camp Sewataro. want everybody to know what a great place it is.
Thank you for sharing that.
I'm curious about Mr. Sewataro's name, Franklin. Did he assume that on coming to the United States, or was it his given name in Italy?
Given name.
Really?
His mother was very creative. She had Romulus and Remus. Franklin was for Franklin, Ben Franklin.
Ben Franklin.
Whom she thought was one of the greatest patriots in the world. And the names went on and on. So there was all manner of great, and she had one girl, Evelyn.
Named after her. Questions?
What does cost to send somebody to camp, and for how many days or weeks does that come to?
I'll call on our,
We like you to come for 8 weeks, because then you get the best experience. So for 8 weeks, it's 4,790. But we just implemented a few years ago a 2-week session, and we also do 4 and 6. But most campers come for 4 and 8.
Thank you.
We do an overnight for our oldest campers, our 9 through 13-year-olds, 2 times during the summer.
but the camp is still a day camp,
Yes.
though. Yeah, it's only like for one night for the overnight. Yes.
Hi. Is it on? Okay, I want to give a little funny story. I was on the school committee many years ago, and they were... Closer? That is? Okay. Anyway, Papa was bulldozing or excavating behind the Haynes School. Is it Haynes? Yeah, that's the right school. Good memory. Anyway, the dirt was rushing on, going out from under the fence. So I went up there to meet with him, and he said, "You and the Supreme Court, anything I do," how did it go now? "I'll do anything that you and the Supreme Court want me to do." And I said, "Well, we'd like to have you not dig under the fence," because he didn't dig under the fence, the water washed it out. Yesterday I went up to check, and there are now 2 fences, one there and one on the school property, and they're about 10 feet apart. So solved the problem.
I have several questions. One is the land that that he almost bought. Did he ever buy any more land after that original $1,000 plot?
Yes, the only other land that he bought, though, was from Gilman, Ralph Gilman, in 1950. It was about 59 acres then that he bought. And then he turned around the next year and sold it to the town of Sudbury, part of that. I don't know exactly how many acres. I'd have to go back and check the records on that he sold for the Haynes School to the town of Sudbury.
Second question is, what happened to Alba's first husband?
Bob lives in Florida now. He has he's married again, and he lives down in Florida.
And you and Alba got married?
We got married in 1994, although our relationship started earlier than that, much earlier.
Well, our 2 kids enjoyed Sewataro immensely, and the thing that always impressed me was that not only did you do everything with details, but you even detailed every bathroom break, and that always tickled me. I couldn't believe it.
Do you want to explain a detailed bathroom break?
No, they had schedules. Everything was scheduled, and so when you went to the bathroom was scheduled. You couldn't go any other time except when it was scheduled.
You could
improve that today just for all of you. So we have Clevis toilets, which are the dry toilets, right? In the old days, a child, as Denise, who used to work in the waterfront, will know, the child had to run a quarter of a mile to get to a toilet. But now they're right there at the ponds, and this has meant they can go anytime.
in the Clevis.
In the Clevis
Yes.
toilet.
Questions? Answers?
Can you ask Rob to tell about where he used to do a lot of shows about climbing in Africa and
Well, yeah, I'll keep this. This isn't really about what camp. this isn't the camp topic, but I have actually been in this building many times talking to Sudbury kids. I was afraid of heights. I had 2 punctured eardrums when I was a tiny kid, and the doctor somehow told my mother, well, he needed to be taken to high places to get used to things, and I got used to it in a big way, and I got involved in mountain climbing and have been actually spending my life until even now climbing, which is one of the reasons I live in Vermont today and not Sudbury. So in the process of this, as I began to go around the world climbing things and working for National Geographic at the BBC, when I was about 18, 19 years old, we had this great opportunity to go to a side of Kilimanjaro that no one had ever been to or climbed. And when you're 18 and 19 years old, you have just enough knowledge to get there, but not enough knowledge to get out of trouble. So in the long and the short of the story is, on the top of this 20,000-foot mountain, on that side of Kilimanjaro, was an icicle of which was 300 feet long, hanging there, which we tried to climb. But we tried to climb it when it was 50 degrees, and you all know that icicles don't hang around when it's 50 degrees, and I also did not hang around. I fell and had a bad accident. And the outcome of this was a really interesting story, of which is a story for another time. I obviously lived, I'm here, but I almost didn't. And it was a really interesting life story, because my partner, we were 80 miles in, so we had to go down through 80 miles of jungle, get out to find some of the local people who are called Shaga to come and find me. But he knew I wasn't going to make it, so he went out to the airport and flew home. This happened. I mean, so anyway, eventually the locals realized that I was up there, and after a couple of weeks, they found me. I was alive, and I've been well taken care of by most wonderful people. And that one experience of feeling a bit betrayed by my partner was more and enough enumerated by all the great people I've met. From this accident came wonderful things. Out of this came that I spent 30 years telling the story to kids about making good choices in partners in life, and when you make decisions, think about them and make the right one. I did write a book, and all I can tell you is 18-year-old should not write books. It probably is a good story, but as a book goes, wait till you're 50 or 60 to write the story.
Thank you, Rod. Any other questions? Reflections?
Over there.
Okay.
Thank you, Lee. As a sister to 3 siblings who worked at Camp Sewataro, I've heard the legends and the stories and the whole, I don't know, it's the whole culture about it. And one of my brothers ended up marrying a girl that he met there. He's the rogue, and he married Karen, who he lives with now out in Wisconsin. So thank you for doing this program.
Thank you. We do have a sales table back here in the back of the room, and we sell wonderful things of Sudbury history, and including our latest book on the history of George Moore and the Civil War. And right now we're going to end with a slideshow that I saw on the Camp Sewataro's website, and you should just go there because it's a great website. And there's refreshments there, all green.
Billy, just give it a click in the middle.
Click in the middle of the screen.
Yeah.
Click in the middle of the screen.
There we go. All set.
Thank you. Thank you all. Shall we retire to refreshments while this is playing? Yeah.